Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, April the 9th. We got a 9-game slate for Friday to talk about. We're going to go team by team, go through each game and talk about each team on this slate. As always, these are my early thoughts. I do always record these videos the night before. I have more updated content on Patreon if you do want to check that out. I also live stream normally in the afternoon, usually Monday through Friday. I try and stream as much as I can. I've missed some streams these last few days, but I should be live Friday afternoon around 4 o'clock Eastern time. If you guys do want to come and hang out, we'll answer any of your questions, break down the slate once again, talk about any news that comes out throughout the day. As always, I do appreciate all you guys' support, all of you that do tune into the live streams every day and do watch these videos as well. If you do enjoy these videos, just be sure to hit that like button. I do always appreciate the likes. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button as well, and be sure to click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also get notified every time I do live stream. But yeah, guys, we got a 9-game slate to break down, so let's go ahead and start off with the Pacers and the Magic game. So this is one for me that I think is just a wait and see right now. We do have a lot of questionable guys on the Pacers side. Domantas Sabonis and Malcolm Brogdon are both questionable once again. Miles Turner, though, has already been ruled out, so we know that Turner is going to be out. Sabonis and Brogdon, though, are both questionable. Assuming that they play, I think the main guy that I'll be looking to on the Pacers is Sabonis, because I think without Miles Turner, Sabonis does greatly benefit. He should get all of his minutes at center. He's going to start at center most likely if he's able to play here. And production-wise, Sabonis is slightly more productive when he does play center minutes, when he's not having to play alongside Miles Turner. We know Sabonis is a very high upside player. Even though he loses a little bit of usage with Caris LeVert now on the team, I think Turner being out today would definitely kind of take that away. I would say the hit that he takes with LeVert kind of gets negated by the fact that Turner's going to be out today. So I do actually like Sabonis quite a bit. At 8,700, he is definitely underpriced here if he winds up playing. Even in a less than ideal matchup against the Magic, have a lot of interest in Domantas Sabonis, but I'm probably not going to LeVert or Brogdon. Even if Brogdon plays, I don't have a ton of interest in him. But if Sabonis and Brogdon are out again, then we can basically go back to the guys that we played last slate. Caris LeVert, I know he was disappointing last slate, but I still have a lot of interest in him today if Brogdon and Sabonis are out again. LeVert, 34 minutes, only 31 DK points. I really don't want to look too much into that. We know the massive upside that LeVert has when all these guys are off the floor. He's basically going to get all the usage. He should be very productive when he's out there. We saw him have a really big game against the Spurs, 51 DK points in 38 minutes. That's the kind of upside that LeVert has when you take Brogdon, Sabonis, Turner off the floor. So if those two guys are out, I do like Caris LeVert quite a bit. Malcolm Brogdon, if he's out again, I have a lot of interest in TJ McConnell. We saw McConnell have a great game off the bench last game, played 35 minutes, had 49 DK points. He was really popular the day before that against Chicago, and he disappointed. Only had 20 DK points in 25 minutes, but if you went back to McConnell the next day, you were rewarded, and I think he's a really good play once again if Brogdon were to sit. Obviously, I would feel better about him if Sabonis were to be out as well, but really Brogdon is the one that impacts McConnell the most. McConnell will probably still get 25-ish minutes if Brogdon plays, but he's likely to play 30-plus minutes if Brogdon's out, and he should also be more productive if Brogdon's out. So I do have a lot of interest in TJ McConnell. Him and LeVert are going to be the two guys I'll look to if Brogdon and Sabonis are out, but there's some other guys you can consider, like Jeremy Lamb you could definitely go to. He didn't have a great game off the bench last game. He only played 20 minutes, but he should be productive when he's out there if there's no Brogdon, if there's no Sabonis, just because there's going to be more usage available, for a guy like Jeremy Lamb to be productive. Goga, though, would be a really good value play once again. He started, with Turner and Sabonis both out last game. He did start at center. He didn't play a ton of minutes, only 25 minutes, but he was really productive in that time, as you would expect. Goga's always been a relatively productive player when he does get minutes. So for 3,800, if he winds up starting again, I think he's probably one of the better value plays on this slate overall. Justin Holiday, I think, should be more productive if Brogdon and Sabonis are out. Played 29 minutes last game, had 33 DK points. The game before that, he was really disappointing, but I don't mind Justin Holiday. Like, if you need a cheap small forward, I think he's viable today, if those two guys sit. So, yeah, there could be a lot to like from this Pacers team depending on what happens with Sabonis and Brogdon. If they're both out again, LeVert, McConnell, Holiday, Lamb, Goga, I think are all viable. Goga, McConnell, and LeVert, that would probably be my three favorites. But if Sabonis plays, I like him quite a bit. If Brogdon plays, I don't have a ton of interest in him. But, yeah, we can go ahead and move on to the Orlando side. Now, talking about the Magic here, there's not as much that really interests me. Terrence Ross is 6,300. I think you can still look to. This matchup's not great. Overall, this is a game I don't want to have a ton of exposure to just because, you know, it's got a really low total. I would assume it's going to have a low total once we do get a total here. But we've seen Terrence Ross be productive these last few games, and he should be very productive rest of season with this Magic team, just because, you know, they don't have a ton of high usage guys. Basically, all their good players were traded away. So if we're going to get 30, 32 minutes from Terrence Ross off the bench every night, you know, he's going to be the guy that consistently puts up close to 40 DK points. At 6,300, he's still in play for me. Now, Wendell Carter was a guy I liked a lot last slate. He was really disappointing. You could go back to him today, but I think there are probably other guys I'd rather go to. He still did start, but he only played 23 minutes. Probably won't be going there, but I could see doing it just because, you know, Wendell Carter has the upside if he does get, you know, 30-plus minutes. It was a concern, though, that he did only play 23 minutes last game. Chumo Kiki, MCW, like, all these guys feel appropriately priced. I would say Terrence Ross is probably my favorite guy to target from Orlando. Not much else, though, outside of him that I'll be looking to. Cole Anthony, I will mention, just because in his first game back from injury, he did play 26 minutes, and he was pretty productive, had 25 DK points in that time. You know, he's another guy that should benefit with Fournier, Vooch, Aaron Gordon no longer on the team. I have no idea how many minutes Cole Anthony plays today, but if we can get anywhere close to 30 minutes from him, you know, 5,200, he's not a bad option at all. You know, could definitely pay off this price point because he should average around a fantasy point per minute when he's on the floor. He should be productive when he's out there. So yeah, we can go ahead and move on to the next game, though. Talk about Minnesota and Boston. So on Minnesota today, I don't see a ton that really stands out here. Towns, Edwards, both feel, you know, about appropriately priced. Matchup's not great here. D'Angelo Russell, I think, is the guy that stands out most to me, just because in his 2 games since coming back from injury, he's been on a minutes limit in both games. We don't exactly know if he's going to be on a minutes limit again. He's came off the bench in 2 games and played 24 minutes in both, had 40 DK points and then 26 DK points last game. If Russell comes off the bench again and is going to be on a limit, I really don't have any interest in him. But if we do get word that he's going to move back into the starting lineup and that he's going to, you know, no longer be on a minutes limit, obviously that's going to happen at some point. Then yeah, I'm going to have a lot of interest in Russell if he's starting and not limited. But I don't know when that's going to happen. It could happen today. It could happen a few games from now. Just a wait and see, you know, in terms of minutes for D'Angelo Russell. But not much else stands out from this Minnesota team. I don't really think this is a team I'm going to be looking to target much of on this slate. Now, looking at the Boston side, I did have a lot of interesting guys like Tatum, Brown, Marcus Smart on the last slate, you know, when Kemba was out. Now that Kemba's back, those guys do take, you know, enough of a hit to where I don't think any of the, you know, big 3 from Boston are really like priorities for me. But, you know, this is a really good matchup against Minnesota. I could definitely see going to these guys in tournaments. I don't think they're going to be guys that I'm like starting my lineup with, but, you know, Jaylen Brown for 8K, I don't mind. I wound up getting to him on Yahoo on the last slate, and that really benefited me. He had a huge game last game with Kemba out. You know, obviously he's going to take a little bit of a hit with Kemba back, but like if you look at Yahoo at small forward, always a tough position. You know, $34. I think if you could pay up at the small forward position, Jaylen Brown does look like one of my preferred options there. But overall, I don't see a ton that stands out from Boston. Like, just not really going to be looking to this team. I mean, Robert Williams, good matchup, pace-up spot here against Minnesota. You know, with Tristan Thompson back, Robert Williams is going to lose some minutes. Like, he only played 25 minutes last game. He's probably not going to get, like, 30-plus minutes. He's probably only going to play around 25 minutes, which does cap his upside. And, you know, he's still $6,500, so it's not like the price tag is starting to come down. I mean, he's still somewhat expensive. So, yeah, I think that does it for this Boston team. Moving on to the next game, Memphis and New York. So, talking about the Grizzlies here, there is some interest of mine, you know, on this Grizzlies team because they are a team that's kind of dealing with some injuries right now. We know Jaren Jackson's going to remain out, obviously. Brandon Clark, though, who's been out the last few games, he is doubtful. He's not expected to play. And then we already know that DeAnthony Melton and Justice Winslow are both going to be out again as well. With Brandon Clark doubtful, though, we've seen Kyle Anderson kind of be the big beneficiary there. Just over their last few games, he's seen his minutes increase, and he's also been very productive. 30 and 29 minutes last 2 games. And then the last game against the Hawks, where he played 29 minutes, he was on pace to play about 34 or 33 minutes, but he lost like 3 or 4 minutes due to blowout. Got pulled early in that game. So I think we get like 32, 34 minutes from Kyle Anderson here. At 5,900, he has shown, you know, he can be productive when he's on the floor. He's been a fantasy point per minute player this year. I know the matchup's not great against the Knicks. Overall, this is not a game I want to have a ton of exposure to, but I definitely like Kyle Anderson with Brandon Clark doubtful again. I think he's the one guy that stands out to me the most from this Grizzlies team. But I don't mind, you know, Joe Val either. If you do want to go to Joe Val, I think it's 7,100. He's a solid option. Ja Morant's just been terrible. Like, it's tough to roster Ja Morant right now. I mean, you never know what you're going to get from him on a nightly basis. He could put up 55 fantasy points any night. He could put up 30 fantasy points. Like, His floor is low, the ceiling is high. If you want to go there in tournaments, you can, but I don't think I'm really going to be looking to him. I think J-Val and Anderson are the two guys I like most from this Memphis team, and Anderson, I think at 5,900 and 23 bucks on Yahoo is probably my favorite play overall from the Grizzlies. But looking at the Knicks side, there really isn't much I like on the Knicks today. Nothing really stands out here. Like, Julius Randle is always viable, but this isn't a slate where I feel like I'm really going to go to Julius Randle. There's just other studs I prefer. RJ Barrett's been playing a little bit better lately, but 6,600. It's not like we're getting that good of a discount on him. He's still pretty expensive. Yeah, I just don't really like much from this Knicks team. I think the Knicks are going to be another team I just kind of avoid today and don't really look to roster anyone from. So moving on to the next game, Chicago and Atlanta. On the Bulls today, this is a back-to-back for the Bulls, so just keep an eye on that. Assuming that everyone's good to go here, I do have some interest in some of these Bulls. Zach LaVine, I think, is the one guy that I like the most. 7,800 on DK. Finally had a good game Thursday against the, I forgot who they played, against the Raptors. Thursday against the Raptors, LaVine finally popped off, had a big game, finished with 55 fantasy points, talking, Yahoo scoring. He played 37 minutes, had 22 points, 6 rebounds, 13 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. We finally saw, the Zach LaVine that we've kind of been missing. He's been, he's been pretty bad, especially since Vooch came to the team. Like, really, Zach LaVine hasn't done much of anything since then. But he finally had a good game Thursday. The matchup here against Atlanta is not the best. Like, Atlanta's been playing a lot slower this year. They've been better defensively. But still, we got a 228 total, which is pretty high. We got a close spread. If we're going to get 36, 38 minutes from Zach LaVine, with him starting to play better now at 7,800, he is definitely underpriced, in my opinion, and someone I'm for sure going to be looking to. He's definitely my favorite play from this Bulls team, and I like him a lot on Yahoo as well. Very affordable there, $32. I think if you're paying up at shooting guard, Zach LaVine definitely looks like one of the better options. Vooch was on a really good stretch of 2 good games. He kind of came back down to earth Thursday against the Bulls, or Thursday against the Raptors. Had a pretty disappointing game, only 37 fantasy points in 31 minutes. But if you want to go to Vooch here, I don't mind him at all. I do prefer LaVine for cheaper, but you could definitely look to Vooch. But outside of those two guys, I don't see anything else I really like from the Bulls today. Satoransky, Thad Young, Patrick Williams, Markkanen. Like, I'm just probably not going to look to these guys. It's LaVine, it's Vooch, and LaVine, like the guy that stands out most from the Bulls. But looking at the Hawks side and talking about Atlanta, we do need to monitor the status of Clint Capella and Danilo Gallinari. Both these guys are questionable for today. Both were questionable last game, and they wound up being out. We don't exactly know if they're going to be in or out yet. Obviously, I recorded all these videos the night before. But we'll talk about, who benefits if they're out. Last game with both Capella and Gallinari out, we did see OKONGWU. I hope I said that right. He did start at center. He played 32 minutes, and he was really productive, had 33 DK points. This is someone that can score, can rebound, can block shots. Like, I would expect him to be productive and average around a fantasy point per minute when he's on the floor. And if he's going to play 30 minutes with Capella and Gallo both out, then at 4K, you could definitely throw OKONGWU up there with, Goga, depending on injury statuses, like in terms of like better value plays today. These are two guys I liked a lot last slate with Sabonis and Turner both out. I love Goga. Once we got news Capella was out, I liked OKONGWU a lot. I'm going to be looking to go right back to these guys depending on if, these guys are out again. So OKONGWU is the guy that benefits most with the Capella out, and at 4K, he would be a very good value play. Trae Young at 9,200, don't mind him on this slate. The matchup here is pretty good. Nice pace-up spot here against this Bulls team that, has been playing really fast this year. For what it's worth, I don't want to look too much into this, but Trae Young had a massive game in only 25 minutes against the Bulls earlier this season, put up 55 DK points in only 25 minutes. I'm not exactly sure why he played 25 minutes. I'm guessing it was a blowout. But, yeah, if you want to go to Trae Young, I don't mind him at 9,200. We're going to talk about Curry later. I think I do prefer Curry against the Wizards. But Trae Young at 9,200, up there in terms of, better pay-up options for me on this slate. In terms of the guys above 9K, he would be, towards the top of my list, I should say. Clint Capella, though, if he plays, I have some interest in, just given, the matchup against the Bulls. This is a Bulls team that, they should be better against bigs now that they do have Vooch, but they're still a team that plays pretty fast. We've seen Capella put up, monster games with John Collins out, and he should continue to benefit with Collins out, so don't mind him if he plays here. Bogdan, it's 7K, I think is now priced to a point where I don't have a ton of interest in him. I know he had a really good game last game. He'd only be viable for me if Capella and Gallo were both out again. If they play, I don't have any interest in Gallo or Bogdan at his price. Gallo I won't be looking to, though, even if he plays. Unless Capela were to get ruled out, then we could definitely go to Gallo. They might would start Gallo at center if Capela's out. I think they've done that before, so, or at least they've run small ball lineups with Gallo at the 5. So just keep an eye on that, but I think that does it for this Atlanta team. I know Solomon Hill started last game. Did play 29 minutes, had 23 DK points. I don't want to play Solomon Hill, but I guess if you need a cheap power forward, he's not the worst option if Gallo and Capela are both out. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next game, talk about the Sixers and the Pelicans. So on the Sixers side, I don't really see much here that I like outside of Joel Embiid. I think in tournaments, Joel Embiid makes some sense at 10,100. Now, since he's come back from injury, he has played, I believe, let's see. Yeah, he's played 2 games since coming back from injury. First game, he played 29 minutes, and then the next game, he played 33 minutes. You know, he hasn't really been that productive, only 41 and 44 DK points, but it was good to see him get 33 minutes last game. If he's going to play his normal minutes here in a good matchup, in a pace-up spot against the Pelicans, Joel Embiid has plenty of upside for tournaments. Now, I think there's some other studs I feel better about, but yeah, Embiid's the one guy I would be going to from the Sixers team. I don't really have any interest in Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris, though. We'll mention Ben Simmons on Yahoo just because his price has come way down there. Like, he's $31. If you want to go to Ben Simmons on Yahoo, I don't hate it in a good matchup, but still don't feel very confident in him. I mean, Ben Simmons has just been so bad lately. Like, he hasn't had a good game in what feels like forever. I mean, he's been under 40 fantasy points in literally 9 straight games, less than 40 fantasy points. It's tough to pay $8,400 for Ben Simmons right now until we see him actually, you know, put up a good game. But the price is coming down, at least on Yahoo, which at least makes him somewhat viable. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and talk about the Pelicans here. So the Pelicans, another team that we got to watch in terms of injuries. It's a wait and see for me right now with this Pelicans team. You know, if Brandon Ingram and if Brandon Ingram and Lonzo both play, they're both questionable right now. I don't see much that really stands out from the Pelicans. If both these guys are in, there's not really anyone I want to go to here. But like Zion, you could go to in tournaments as always. But if we do get a scenario where Brandon Ingram and Brandon Ingram and Lonzo are both out again, or at least out. Ingram was out last game. Lonzo played last game, but he's questionable now. If Ingram and Lonzo are both out, I think the 2 biggest beneficiaries for sure would be Zion and Eric Bledsoe. Zion would just get more usage, you know, would just be even more productive with those guys off the floor. And then no Lonzo would make, you know, Eric Bledsoe basically the de facto point guard because they don't have an AW and they don't have Kira Lewis. So they're going to start Eric Bledsoe at point guard if Lonzo's out. Pretty sure Kira Lewis is doubtful, I think, or he's questionable. So I guess keep an eye on that. I don't think that would affect Bledsoe too much here, but yeah, if Ingram and Lonzo are both out, I do like Zion a lot. I like Eric Bledsoe a lot. But that's probably it. I don't think I'm going to anyone else on this Pelicans team outside of those 2 guys. Like James Johnson started last game in place of Ingram, but he wasn't really productive. And basically since Zion has come back, you know, James Johnson just nowhere near as productive as he was when Zion was out. Kira Lewis, I guess, if he does play, it could be viable if Lonzo's out. Kira Lewis has shown he can be productive when he gets minutes. I would assume that he would get a lot of minutes with no Josh Hart, no NAW, no Lonzo. Like, there would definitely be a lot of minutes available for Kira Lewis off the bench if he were to play today. So keep an eye on that for sure. He could be viable today if Lonzo gets ruled out, and I would want Ingram to be out too. But yeah, if both those guys are out, then Zion, Bledsoe, I like quite a bit. Those would be 2 really good options for me. We can go ahead and talk about Charlotte and Milwaukee, though, the next game. So on the Charlotte side, another team that's dealing with some injuries. You know, there's nobody questionable, but Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball, and Malik Monk, we know, are all going to remain out today. So with these guys out, you know, you expect Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges to be, you know, pretty productive when they're on the floor. Rozier's price tag is way up there, though. He's $8,500 today. Like, I don't think I can play Rozier at this price tag. I know, you know, he's going to play a ton of minutes. He should get a ton of shots up, but you need a big game from Rozier for him to, you know, even be worth this price tag. I just think he's overpriced at this point. Sure, he could put up 50 and could be a really good option, but I don't think I need to pay $8,500 for Terry Rozier today. Devontae Graham, I would like a lot if they would just give him more minutes, but like, I don't know what it is. They just don't want to give Devontae Graham minutes. Like, even last game with no Monk, with no Hayward, with no Ball, Devontae Graham still only played 27 minutes. It wasn't like he was in foul trouble or anything. He didn't get hurt. They just haven't played him big minutes. The most minutes he's played over his last 10 games is 39. Obviously, he got a ton of minutes in that Phoenix game. I think that game went to overtime, but like, his minutes, he could get 25 minutes today. He could get 35 minutes. I don't really know. You know, if he gets like 35 minutes, he has the upside to pay off the $6,800 salary, because Devontae Graham should be very productive when he's on the floor with no Hayward, with no ball, with no Monk. Like, he should be productive with those guys out. It's just I wish Charlotte would give him more than 25, 27 minutes a night. He's a lot more affordable on Yahoo though, so I think if you do play over there, like $20 at point guard, he looks like a really good option. Miles Bridges, I think at 5,500, was disappointing last slate. He was very popular at 5K. He wasn't, I won't say disappointed. Like, he still had 26 DK points at 5K, which, was 5x value. But, we didn't get what we wanted from Miles Bridges. He did play 36 minutes, though, and he should continue to get big minutes on a nightly basis starting in place of Gordon Hayward. So, if you want to go to Miles Bridges at 5,500, I still don't mind him, even with the price tag coming up. But the guy that I actually like the most from this Charlotte team is Jalen McDaniels. So, Jalen McDaniels actually started last game. They decided to go with, kind of play some small ball. They started McDaniels at the 3, Miles Bridges at the 4, and then they moved PJ Washington down to the 5. And McDaniels was really productive when he was out there. He played 32 minutes in the starting lineup, had 38 Draftkings points. He's still super cheap on DK. He's only $3,300. On Yahoo, he's still very cheap over there, only $12. I don't know if he has a repeat performance here and puts up 38 fantasy points again, but with no Hayward, with no Ball, with no Monk, like, there's plenty of minutes available and there's plenty of usage available. It's not surprising to see a guy like Jalen McDaniels come in and be productive. Now, will he average a fantasy point per minute? I don't exactly know, but he's 3,300. If he's going to get anywhere near 30 minutes at 3,300, I mean, he looks like one of the better value plays right now. We'll have to wait and see what kind of value opens up as the day goes on, but I do actually like Jalen McDaniels quite a bit today, assuming that he does wind up starting again. He's definitely someone I'll be looking to, and, I like him on Yahoo as well, super cheap over there. Looks really good at only $12, but yeah, PJ Washington, though, did start at the 5 last game, was more productive, had 34 DK points in 31 minutes. If they start him at the 5 again, he's definitely someone I'll be looking to because he is more productive when he gets his minutes at center, whereas, playing the power forward position. So really, I think all the starters, minus Rozier, I think Rozier is a bit overpriced, but Devontae Graham I don't mind, Washington, Bridges, McDaniels, I have interest in all 3 of those guys for sure. Definitely a Charlotte team I'm for sure going to be looking to today. Moving on to the Milwaukee side, though. Milwaukee, another team that's just a wait and see for me right now. Giannis did not play Thursday. He was doubtful for Thursday's game. We have no update on him. We have no idea if he's going to play for today. Assuming that Giannis does play, really the only guy that I'll be looking to on Milwaukee is Giannis himself. Giannis is someone I always look to pay up for anytime he's on a slate, and if he were to play today at 10,800, I think he would be one of the better stud options. If he's out again, though, Drew, Middleton, Portis, we can look to all 3 of those guys. Right now as I'm recording this video, the only guy that's having a good game so far is Portis. Like, Middleton and Drew both are kind of, disappointing on Thursday night, but I'd be fine going right back to them today if Giannis is out again. So we'll just have to wait and see for now. Tough to break down this Milwaukee team until we get an update on Giannis. So, yeah, we can go ahead and talk about the next game, San Antonio and Denver. On San Antonio today, I really don't like much here. There's not much that stands out from the Spurs. Everyone feels appropriately priced, if not a little bit too expensive. The Spurs are just not a team I'm looking to target. They're just going to be a fade for me. I'm going to keep it real short and sweet. On the Denver side, though, there's a little bit more to like on Denver. Jamal Murray is once again questionable. He's been out for, I believe, the last 2 games. With Jamal Murray out, we saw Monte Morris start the first game that he was out, and then they elected to bring Monte Morris off the bench last game. And they actually started Facu Campazzo in place of Jamal Murray last game. Facu did get 28 minutes. Now, he wasn't that productive, only 15 DK points, but if he were to start again in place of Murray, 3,200, super cheap, he definitely would be in play for a value. But I think Will Barton's a guy I'll be looking to if Murray's out again. He's been benefiting with Murray out. We've seen him be productive these last few games without Murray. 42, 31 DK points. Been getting more shot attempts, more assists. Just gonna be able to have the ball in his hands more with Murray off the floor. So at 5,400, he still does feel too cheap if Murray winds up sitting. Jokic, you can always pay up for. I never have a problem with Jokic. I don't know if this is a slate where I'm really going to, running to roster Jokic. I don't know if he's like the first guy in for me. But if we get a lot of value that opens up as the day goes on, I have no problems paying up for Jokic if there's a lot of good value that I like, that allows me to get in multiple studs. As of now, though, I don't expect to get to Jokic on this slate, at least not in my one lineup. So, yeah, we can go ahead and move on to the next game, Washington and Golden State. So this is probably the most appealing game in terms of pace and in terms of expected points scored. Right now, this game does have a 240.5 total, which I believe is the highest on the slate. And I would assume that's probably going to stay true. I don't think there's going to be, maybe Philly, New Orleans, but 240.5 total here between these two teams. It makes sense because these are two very fast-paced teams. On the Washington side, starting off with the Wizards, pretty easy to break down this Wizards team. For me, it's really just Russell Westbrook and not anything else. Bradley Beal is currently listed as probable. He's expected to play. He did return last game, played 30 minutes, had 39 DK points. You know, at 9,300, I guess you could look to Beal, but I think if I was going to roster anyone on this Wizards team, it would be Russell Westbrook. I mean, even with Bradley Beal back last game, Westbrook still went out there and dominated, had 68 DraftKings points, played 38 minutes, had another triple-double, 23 points, 14 rebounds, 15 assists. Like, even with Beal playing, Westbrook just looks like one of the best pay-up options basically every night. I mean, he's just going out there and stuffing the stat sheet every night. It's such a good matchup. It's a fast-paced game. Like, this is the type of game environment where Russell Westbrook could just go out there and put up, a 70 burger, and I would not be surprised. I'm expecting another big triple-double from him. I would say that he's probably my favorite stud above 9K right now. We'll talk about Curry in a minute. I do like Curry a lot for tournaments, but Westbrook and Curry, I think, are the two guys I like most at the top right now. Giannis, I'll have to mention if he's able to play, but love Westbrook here in a good matchup in a fast-paced game. Even with Beal expected to play, Westbrook still looks like a top option for me. He's just been so good lately, at least for DFS. Now on the Golden State side, there's a lot to like here as well, just because it is a really good matchup against the Wizards. Fast-paced game as we mentioned. Steph Curry will start off with 9,900. I like Curry a lot for tournaments today. I think at this price point, he's not going to get insane ownership. Like, Curry really hasn't been massive chalk this season. Like, there's been a lot of slates where Curry is very low owned. There's been some slates where he's maybe gotten like 15, 20% ownership, but we never really see Curry get like massive ownership. There's always other guys that are that project better. Even in a good matchup against the Wizards, I think it's going to be the same case today. I don't think Curry's going to be, that popular, but I like him a lot here in what should be a very fast-paced game and what should be probably the highest-scoring game on the night. If this game stays close and we get 36, 38 minutes from Steph Curry, I mean, I would not be surprised to see another 55, 60-point game from him. Obviously at the price point that he is, we kind of need him to put up that score to, for him to be worth his price tag. But he definitely has that upside in him. Curry's floor, I would say, is a little bit lower than, guys like Westbrook and some of these other studs that we've talked about, but it's hard to argue with the ceiling that he has in a matchup like this. So I do like Steph Curry a lot in tournaments, and I think he's going to go a little bit overlooked on this slate. 9,900, love him on DK, and on Yahoo, $47. Along with Westbrook, he looks like one of the better pay-up options at point guard on Yahoo. But Wiggins, I don't really like it. His price tag. Draymond Green, though, I do have a lot of interest in. Again, just a really good matchup, fast-paced game. This is a type of game where we should expect a big triple-double from Draymond. We know in competitive games he's going to get 36 minutes. Last game against Milwaukee, he fouled out in 29 minutes. He just wasn't that productive. I would expect him to bounce back here in what is a much better matchup. 6,700 is still too cheap for Draymond. If he gets his normal minutes, he is very likely to pay off this price tag. So as long as this game can stay close, I think Draymond and Curry both have a ton of upside, and I like playing both today. I think you can definitely play them together. Don't see any problems with that. I like Draymond a lot on Yahoo as well. Coming in at $27, I think he looks like a really good pay-up option at power forward on Yahoo. Him, Kyle Anderson, McDaniels, those are a lot of good power forward plays today. Those are definitely, three of my favorites right now. But outside of those two, like Kelly Oubre, I don't mind in tournaments. I don't know if he's like a core play or like a cash game play, but we know Oubre has upside. He's been better lately. He's a guy that can go out there and put up 40, 45 fantasy points any night. I don't mind him. I think I'd rather play Oubre over Wiggins if I had to choose one of those two. Wiseman, going to continue to play anywhere from 25 to like 30 minutes a night. Should be productive in this matchup. He's been a guy that has definitely had a low floor this season. Like, you can get disappointing games from James Wiseman, but he can still go out there and put up 30 fantasy points in 25 minutes. He did it last game against Milwaukee. Don't mind him. He's probably my third favorite Warrior behind Curry and Draymond. But that basically does it for this team, and I think that does it for this game. So we can go ahead and talk about the last game on the night, Houston and LA. On the Houston side, we already know that John Wall is going to be out for this game. I don't think that really impacts too much, though, because, all the guys that really benefit from Wall being out have been priced to reflect that. Kevin Porter is $7K. Sterling Brown's up to $4,400. Like, I really don't like a ton on this Houston team. Christian Wood, you could maybe go to in tournaments, but there's just other guys I prefer priced around him. Overall, Houston is not a team I expect to have much exposure to. Kelly Olynyk's been starting in place of Daniel House. Should start again. He's actually been really productive in the starting lineup, and he's basically, he's been productive with the Rockets since getting traded to Houston. I guess I don't mind Olynyk, but 6K does feels like you're kind of overpaying for Kelly Olynyk at this point. But if he's going to start and play 32, 34 minutes, he has shown he can be productive with this Rockets team, you know, when he does get the minutes. If I had to play any Rocket today, it would probably be Kelly Olynyk or Kevin Porter, like one of those two guys. But overall, I don't expect to have much exposure to this team. Looking at the Clippers side, though, this is a back-to-back for the Clippers, so just keep an eye on that. You know, Kawhi and PG, sometimes they'll rest on back-to-back, sometimes they'll play. I'm pretty sure on their last back-to-back, PG was out and Kawhi played. So, you know, keep an eye on this. Assuming that Kawhi and PG both play, I think they're solid options. You know, neither one really stand out as top plays for me. Like, I'd rather have Curry over Kawhi. I'd rather have, you know, some other guys. Like, I'd rather have Zach LaVine, I think, over PG. But don't mind Kawhi or PG. Those are probably the only two guys, though, that I'd be looking to on this Clippers team. I don't see too much I like on the Clippers overall outside of those two. So, yeah, that does it for this Clippers game. Overall, this is not a game I have a ton of interest in. I think the Washington Golden State game is for sure the late night hammer tonight. But yeah, that does it for all 9 games today, guys. Appreciate you watching. Hope you did enjoy. Hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit that subscribe button as well. Be sure to click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload, and you also get notified every time I do live stream. As always, guys, appreciate the support, appreciate the likes. Hit the subscribe button, and good luck on tonight's slate, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.